When you're doing the IELTS exam for immigration, in many circumstances, you're not asked to get a 7777, but you're asked to get an 8777, with the 8 being in listening because it's comparatively easy. However, getting an 8 is not easy. 8 is very close to perfection. 8 is very close to 9, which is a total score. That means you got to be really good at listening. Now, fortunately, some of the strategies that we have designed have not only helped our students in getting an 8, but also an 8.5 or 9, and these were students who were getting a 6 or 7 only in listening before. So with these strategies, listening becomes very easy because you become a sniper. You target the exact answers that the examiner wants you to hear, and you're putting them without really thinking because your game in preparation time is really good. And that's going to be our focus today because yes, listening is important, but if you don't know how to use your preparation time wisely, you will really hurt your exam and hurt your mark. So in order to fix that, let's get started. Discuss the 4 sections of the IELTS listening, starting with section 1 here. Now, the beautiful thing with the IELTS listening is that they give us a lot of useless instructions when we start the test. That means before section 1 starts, you would have a plethora of instructions like these are the IELTS questions, you have 40 questions, 4 sections, etc. You don't need to listen to all of that. What you need to do is get into the questions and start looking at the keywords. Okay, so when you look at the keywords, you're preparing already to understand and catch the words that are going to be spoken later. After the instructions, you have almost another 30 seconds to look at questions 1 to 6. Sometimes it's 1 to 4, sometimes it's 1 to 5. Here it's 1 to 6. So now you have plenty of time to look at all these questions. Let's discuss on how to look at these questions specifically. Now, section 1 is easy, but later on, if you get these fill-in-the-gap questions, they become tough. Okay, so with fill-in-the-gap questions, you just have to remember 2 main things. You can write it down somewhere. The 2 main things for fill-in-the-gap questions are number 1, keywords, and number 2, prediction. Okay, keywords and prediction. What are keywords are words that are simply near the question. So phone number is next to question 1. USA address 509 is next to this question, and 1137 and so on. When you look at these keywords, obviously when the speaker says it, they say phone number, your mind is ready to get this answer. When they say 509, your mind is ready to get this answer. So that's where keywords are, of course, helpful. This is the number 1 strategy in IELTS listening. But what if they don't say phone number? What if they say cell? What if they say cell phone number? What if they say contact information? So the other thing you want to do with keywords is paraphrase them. Paraphrase them in your head, because very likely the examiner will do the same. So if they confuse you, you should be prepared for it. If you have paraphrased these words in your head, like phone number, okay, cell phone, contact info. Address, they won't change it. Packing day, maybe they will say day of the week, for example. About the price, okay, that's not a question. Storage time, it could be the exact time or the storage duration. Okay, so similarly, you want to paraphrase all these things because they might use those words and you want to be ready to catch them. So that's one thing, keywords. The second thing is prediction. What do you predict will come here? Obviously, numbers. So when they say numbers, your mind will be ready to put something in number 1. What they're going to say here is some sort of street address, 509 Smith Street, 1137 Roblin Boulevard, or 509 Smith Crescent, anything like that. Right? So what you're doing is getting prepared to catch those words. When you predict, even if you miss the keyword, at least with the prediction, if you hear the word boulevard and something with it, you would say, hey, wait a second, I didn't hear 1137, but I was looking for boulevard, I was looking for road, I was looking for street, so that's the answer. So you ensure that you don't miss the answers when they come. Either you will catch them with the help of the keywords, or you will catch them with the help of your prediction. So you will be super ready to catch anything. Now again, the other benefit of this is right here. When we practice this test with our students, we see many times when they answer number 4, they make it an incorrect answer. Why? Because they mention in the speaking, they say, the packing day is going to be the 23rd of March 2020 on Thursday. So guess what students put here? 23rd March 2020. That's not the question. The question is the day. and the day was Thursday. That should have been the answer. But students miss it. Why? Because they haven't predicted. If you predict the day, obviously you will think of 7 answers, Monday, Tuesday, all the way till Sunday. So you would pick one of the days of the week, right? And that's how you cannot get these questions wrong. If you predict and look at the keywords. Here you would predict a time. Obviously you would be looking for AM, PM, 5:20, 6:30, whatever. So that's what you do at the start, especially for fill in the gap questions. Let's go to our next part, 7 to 10. And once again, you would have your preparation time here. Again, use that wisely. How? Well, these are matching questions, very common for IELTS listening. The good thing again is things are in sequence. So 7 will come first, then 8, then 9, and so on. So you don't have to worry about this list so much. Worry about this one, because this can go in any sequence. 7 could be A, 8 could be C, and so on. So with this, you want to first of all look at the keywords. Emergency pack, personal package, storage, and furniture. Great. Okay, if they say those words, like if it's simple, like keep the kettle in personal package, 8 is B, right? Hopefully it's that simple, but it's usually not. So remember, the second rule with the keywords is paraphrasing them in your head. Now, how would you paraphrase them is, instead of emergency pack, you would say, okay, maybe they will say something like things you need urgently, or things that are serious, or that are first aid related. Those things would be considered emergency. Or personal package might be things relating to your personal stuff, like clothes or undergarments, etc. Storage with furniture, maybe they won't say anything like that. Maybe they will say that items that you don't use often. So if you don't use them often, obviously they go in the storage. Or you can say items that are not going to be rotten or spoiled over time. So that's going to be, again, storage items, and those kinds of things. So they might paraphrase them a lot. Now, you might be thinking, how much should I paraphrase? You should paraphrase as much as you can within the given time. If you can make 3 or 4 paraphrased words for this and then this, it's awesome. That's good enough. Are you going to be accurate? Yes, absolutely. When we do these exercises with our students, 80% of the times, the words that they guess or paraphrase are the same words that the examiner paraphrases as well. So your guess is as good as the examiner, since both of you are human, so you think alike. But there are 20% of the times when it's hard to catch, you don't have the exact word in your head, and they paraphrase something completely different, but even then, you can relate it with what's written. So instead of emergency pack, it might be something, they'll say, we need it right away. So obviously, right away is not a word I paraphrased, but it means emergency. So it's the same thing, and we can match. And that's it for section 1. At the end of section 1, as you guys may know, they will give you 30 seconds to 30 seconds to review your answers for section 1. But you should not do that. You should instead jump to section 2. And then at section 2, they'll also give you 30 seconds to prepare for the next set of questions. So this means you would have the review time from section 1 and the preparation time from section 2, which is a total of 1 minute almost. And that 1 minute is going to allow you to read all the next questions and be ready for them. So it's really important to not review the answers from the first section. You only do it if you really need to. Okay, and let me give you guys a note about reviewing. When people review their answers, they should only change the spellings. Okay, if you got a spelling mistake or a grammar, change it, correct it, because that will affect your mark if you get a wrong spelling. However, you should never change your option. Let me tell you this again, never change your option at the end. For example, let's say you do question 22, okay, and question 22, you wrote A, and you circled that because you're not sure. Now you finished the whole test, and you're done with the 40 questions, and you say, you know what, question 22, I think it's C, and you erase A and you put C. Let me tell you, we have thousands of students in HZad education every month. And we know from experience, 90% of the times, 90% of the times, you will be wrong if you change the answer at the very end. Simple reason, when you were doing question 22, at that time, your memory was the sharpest. You just heard what the speaker said and you put down the answer. So you know right then that 22A is accurate and that's your best answer. Leave it at that, okay? Don't change your options towards the end of the exam. That's where we see people make mistakes all the time. Usually the first option we selected will be the right one. Okay, so now with that little note on review, let's go on section 2, and now we have all these questions. Table, all right, if you get this, you are lucky, because tables are easy to comprehend. They always go from left to right. 9 a.m., then title of the lecture, and then the location, main hall. It'll be mentioned in this sequence, then again left to right, and so on. So this is easy. Once again, you have fill in the gap questions, which means you go back to the same two things. You look at the keywords, title of the lecture, and John Smith. Obviously, John Smith would not be paraphrased. Title of the lecture, and they might say main idea of the lecture or the concept of today's talk will be whatever. And number 2, predict. Okay, so title of the lecture, you really cannot predict it. It could be anything. John Smith can be from places. He can be from the university of something. He could be from the ministry of something, or he could be from an institute or something similar. So you're looking for mostly a professional name here. It's not going to be a comedy club, but it's going to be some professional institute, because these kind of people deliver lectures. So, okay, now you have some ideas, and you see what I did there was I gave you guys 11 and 12 to look at the same time. 11 and 12 are so close together, so most likely they will mention them very fast. And that's in fact exactly what happened with this test. They said something like the title of the lecture today is going to be whatever, and it's going to be done by John Smith from the University of Melbourne. So you see how fast that was. If you just looked at 11 and you were not focused on 12, you will easily miss it. From section 2 onward, this is section 2, right? From here onward, if you see two questions very close together, you ought to read them at the same time, because they will mix it up, okay? But for example, 12 and 13 are very far. Before they get to 13, after 12, they will say all this stuff, okay? So you don't really need to read 12 and 13 together, but yeah, 13 and 14, yes, read them together. And then you can relax a little with 15, relax a little with 16, they're far apart, you'll be okay. Another note here on question number 14. So a lot of my students make mistakes with this question. This is simple, okay? Here, what happens is students don't use the idea of prediction. Look at this, the lift or the elevator on the what? Where could it be? It could be on the ground floor, top floor, first, second, 14th, 13th floor, right? Obviously, it's going to be a floor name, and that's what it was in the answer. So if you predict well, you think of a floor, you'll get the right answer. When they say it, even if they say it fast and you catch the word floor, you will know what the answer is. All right, so again, remember, with fill in the gap questions, we're looking for predictions and the keywords with paraphrasing. Moving on to the next set of questions, this is something that really bothers people, multiple choice questions. Okay, very simple strategy, all right? You only have to look at the questions. Remember this, I will repeat, only look at the questions in the preparation time, not the options, not ABC. The mistake that most students make is they read everything, because when you see general IELTS tips online, it says that read the questions. That does not mean read all of this in the preparation time. First of all, you will forget all of it because it's so much information. Second of all, you probably won't be able to even read everything in the preparation time because it's so much. And thirdly, why are you looking at all three options when obviously two are going to be wrong? You know, we're filling our mind with the wrong information. So in the preparation time, all you got to do is look at 17, tickets are available. Understand that that's a question, tickets are available, and then at some time, obviously, that's what we'll look for later. Delegates will be charged something, you're looking for a monetary amount. The restaurant is famous for, okay, so there's something, dish or server or service that is popular in the restaurant, and the trip on Sunday costs, looking for money again. That's it. All you got to do in preparation time is focus on what's being asked. And that's again the problem, that when people answer, they have the preparation time done and the speaker starts talking and now you answer. Okay, so you will hear all these options and you won't know which one to pick because you haven't understood the question. So that's again, I think point number 4, that stresses how important it is to just look and understand the questions during the preparation time. When do you read the options? When they start talking. It's not that hard. It's really not that hard. You have to look at ABC when they start talking. So they're going to say tickets are available at sometime after midnight. So now you're looking at tomorrow evening. And you can say, and then they might say that, well, it most likely will not be open at the reception desk. You might have to go to other desks. So the A is not the option. Okay, and then something about anytime before the reception might or might not be said, so that might be C, but you get the idea. While they're talking, follow A, B, C, and pick at that time. Doesn't matter if it's hard, this is the right way to do it. You have to look at the questions separately in the preparation time and look at the options separately when they're speaking, and that will give you the best chance at getting the right answer. Okay. Hopefully in this test we have some long multiple choice questions. Yeah, these are a little longer, so good thing. Okay, we'll discuss this right now. So section 3, okay, once again, at the end of section 2, you take your review time. You take your section 3 preparation time. It's almost going to be a minute in total. And now you have all this time to look at these questions. Once again, what you're going to do is look at 21, 22, 23, not the options, just the question. Simple as that. And now when they start talking, for example, if you look at something like question 24, it has a lot of words, right? Like it will be hard for you to look at the question and then look at the options at the same time when they're speaking. What you should do is keep some keywords in your head when they're speaking. Again, not in the preparation time, but when they're speaking, quickly look at these options. So, okay, work experience, off-campus, and hospital. All right, at least you have these quickly in your head. And now they're talking. You want to try your best to read the whole option, but at least if you don't have time to read the whole option, you know the keywords. And if they say something like medical, instantly you're here and you're focusing here. If they say something like outside the campus, you're here, right? So at least by getting the quick keywords while they're speaking, your eyes will be able to navigate to the right place. And then when they come to the next question, do the same thing, and so on. Okay, let's look at here. So this is another question type. What it says here is which 3 compulsory courses must be taken. Okay, now they're giving you a list. And it would be really good if they just say, the 3 compulsory courses are computing, statistics, and medicine. But that is never going to happen. What is going to happen is they're going to use all these words A to G. And you got to guess the 3. Well, the good thing is in the question you have a keyword. So find out keywords in the question. Find out hints in the question. It says compulsory. Okay, so that's your keyword. You got to paraphrase it. Compulsory could be mandatory, needed, required, all those words. Okay, and now what's going to happen is they're going to go here and they're going to talk about all the subjects, and few of them will be mandatory, required, compulsory. And those are going to be the answers. For example, they might say medical science is a great course. It'll really help you develop your resume, but it's not needed right now. What is required is computing. So, okay, you put it down there. Computing, B is the option, because they didn't say compulsory. They said required, and you already paraphrased it here, which means now whatever they say, however they paraphrase it, you will be ready to get that answer. And so on. So they'll go again, skip a few and get a few, and you got to get 3 of them. Moving on to the last question, again, fill in the gap question. Once again, think about the 2 things that I mentioned early. What are the 2 things you need to do for fill in the gap questions? If you said number 1, keywords, and number 2, predictions, you are correct. So let's look at the keywords. Keywords are $1,500. Very good keyword. They won't change it. They won't say 1,400 plus 100. So that doesn't need to be paraphrased. 1,500 cash as a cash. It's hard to paraphrase too. Let's say cash. Okay. Scholarships. Maybe they'll say student help or student aid. They could paraphrase it. And over tuition, they could say tutoring. So again, we're just paraphrasing and looking at the keywords, and we're predicting. So what kind of scholarships do students get? $1,500 cash as a reward, as a discount, as a tuition advance, as an allowance, right? So you predict, and the answer was actually textbook allowance. So when you predict the right thing, sometimes you can get the exact answer. All right. So again, same strategy for fill in the gap questions. All right, guys, now we're going to go to section 4. Section 4 is where the landscape changes. Okay, this is where you got to be really alert. Like if you're slouching on your chair, time to sit up straight and get ready, because this will drive you crazy. And this is specifically, this test, I'll show you guys how annoying and obnoxious this was. The way they trick the words here is just insane. And if you have the right structure and strategies, nothing can taunt you. You wouldn't be faded by anything they throw at you. So today we're going to discuss on section 4 how you can encounter and really be successful in any situations they put you in. So this one is a really hard section 4. Okay. First thing you got to do is right away make sure you look at 2 questions at a time. All right. Starting section 4, this is your rule. You got to look at 2 questions at a time. You cannot look at just 1 question. Let me tell you how important that is. We've had students who we know are going to get 8 or 8.5 in the exam. They're that good, but they come after the exam saying they got a 6 in listening. You know why that happens? They say that we were looking for question 31's answer. We were looking for this answer, and they finished all the way till question 40, and we were still here. We never knew when they moved on to question 32, and that's because they are so fast. But if you looked at 31 and 32 together, you don't get 31, but you get 32, you know they have moved on. At least you can do all the 9 questions, even if you get this one wrong. So it's important to look at 2 questions at a time. No matter how good you are, you might be tricked. So make sure you look at 2 at a time. That's one thing. Again, you have the fill in the gap questions. Okay, same strategies apply. Okay, so you got to predict and you got to look at the keywords, but in a little different way. Prediction doesn't change. Okay, so prediction wise, all right, there's a man-made materials like what? Like maybe paper, plastic, or cars, or industrial material, etc. Okay, you predict that, fine. But your paraphrasing game, when you look at the keywords man-made material, your paraphrasing game needs to be better. Now they will paraphrase like crazy. You know, they might not even say man-made material. You might think, you know, paraphrasing might be artificial material, man-made material, simple. But they might just change the whole concept and they might say industries make paper. Okay, so industries are man-made. And that means paper is man-made materials like paper. It belongs there because industries make paper. But you see how far it is from the way they wrote the sentence. So here it no longer becomes a game of kind of manipulating the same sentence. It could be a completely different concept. Okay, and I'll show you that example in a bit with questions 33 and 34. What happened there was insane. But okay, so first of all, your paraphrasing game, just don't even think about just 2 words. Think about the whole concept, the whole story. Okay, so for example, 32. What I would do is, all right, before being used, material undergoes, I would predict, you know, material undergoes processing, cleaning, polishing, whatever. And in terms of keywords, okay, I'm lucky if they simply say material undergoes, but they might say we polish the material. Okay, so the answer would be material undergoes polish. And that's because they do that to the material. They might not say undergo. Okay, so I gotta be careful with the concept. Now let's look at 33 and 34. These are really interesting. So it says wood should be cut and then stone should be cut and. So a usual candidate would think cut and something. That's all I need to listen to. But let me show you the level of paraphrasing here. That was pretty insane. Okay, this is page, I'll come and check it later. Let's go to the transcript. So we have the written exam here on page 58. All right, let's look at question 33. It says, still do-it-yourselfers would do well to remember to buy only properly seasoned wood. Do you see how insane this is? The answer is seasoned. Okay, the question earlier was wood should be cut and something. So wood should be cut and seasoned because that's the other quality of wood. You should buy only seasoned wood. So basically, wood should be cut and seasoned. Seasoned would be the right answer. Okay, they didn't say anything about cut in this sentence. They said it here, all the way here when they were speaking, since few of us cut our own lumber. Lumber means wood. So you know, you need to have good vocab as well to remember that. So cutting wood was mentioned here, and the other quality of wood was buy seasoned wood. Very different from the way the question was, which says cut and wood should be cut and whatever. So cut and seasoned is the answer. Then I think the next one was about stones, and it says stones should be cut and, let's look at this. It says most stone floors are polished before installation. So now we know that the quality is polished. Most stone wood should be, well, most stone should be polished. So the answer there would be cut and polished. But you see, it doesn't say anywhere cut. It just says most stone floors are polished. So it's the quality of stones that we're looking for, not that it should be cut and whatever. It's not going to be that straightforward, unfortunately. So let's come back to that question right here. Stone should be cut and something. Wood should be cut and something. Remember the concept, okay? That's the game in part 4. Not just should be cut on something, but the concept is something should be done to wood. So what kind of wood are you looking for? The seasoned one. And stone, when you do it, you should be cutting it and buy the polished one. So remember the whole idea, the concept becomes important, all right? Going to 35 and stuff, it's a little bit easier. So it says, aside from environmental factors, one should take something into consideration. Think about, one should take something into account during during construction. Okay, think about construction. What do you take into account when you have construction, when you construct a home or something? You think about the cost, the material, the location, right? So you predict that one of those things will be the answer. And of course, you look at the keywords. Now, one thing I haven't mentioned before is when you look at the keywords around a gap, make sure to look at the keywords before and after, because you might miss one. Okay, so if you miss the first ones, you will catch the later ones. So I'm looking at construction, and they could paraphrase it. Construction, they could say construction workers, or during the building of the property. Environmental factors, they might say ecological factors and so on. But the idea is to look at the keywords before and after to be fully prepared. Okay, so again, same idea, that you look at the keywords, paraphrase it, and make sure paraphrase it really well. Look at the concept, like basically here, something needs to be into account during construction. So remember, the idea is, what are we thinking of when constructing something? And we're predicting, it could be cost, material, location, so we are able to get the answer faster. In this test, finishing off, it's again fill in the gap questions. This one is fairly easy, and that's what happens usually when they give you something really difficult at one point. They make it a little easier. They balance it with other questions. So this was a game of simply looking here, polished silver and the number, white painted plastic, number approximately 0.4, something like that. And we're just looking for numbers. And here we have a number, but we're looking for the material, since these are materials. And that was fairly easy. But with those strategies, I hope it really helps you guys out in any listening exam that you do, since it does really help our students. It has been proven to work for us for years. And that's what we coach to anyone who's appearing for the IELTS listening exam. The idea is to use these strategies and really use them wisely in the preparation time. Never ignore how important that is. Preparation is more important than listening. Let me tell you that. Preparation time is more important than listening, because that's where you tell your mind what kind of words and sentences you're looking for. When you get your mind ready, when you start listening, it becomes so easy to catch all those questions. So I hope these things help you out. Try some new listening practices. If you want some free material, there is tons on YouTube. YouTube is the best resource for listening materials. Just type IELTS listening hard, okay, or hard IELTS listenings, and you'll find some really good ones. Check the comments there too, if people are liking it, but usually the top results are the best ones. And if people are struggling, in tests where people are getting 22, 23 out of 40, do those ones. The harder you do, the better your practice will be. And with these strategies, it should be phenomenal. So I hope with all these techniques, you're able to get a 9. Best of luck, guys. Take care.